My name is Guy Kawasaki, and I am today an author and venture capitalist and speaker and writer, and I guess writer is the same thing as author. But one of the things that I do is I love marketing. I truly love marketing. I was born to be marketing. And it started in the Mac division when I was a software evangelist, so my job was to convince people to make Macintosh software products. Essentially, looking back, my job was to convince people to risk their company on a computer that had no install base, had crappy tools, came from a flaky company in Cupertino, where most people thought we were sitting around in Birkenstocks, drinking white wine, smoking marijuana in beanbag chairs. And the truth is not too far from that. You know, the old joke back then is, what's the difference between Apple and the Cub Scouts? And the answer is the Cub Scouts had adult supervision. And if you're a marketing person, the definition of Apple marketing was the largest group of migrant workers in California. So I was an Apple marketing person and an evangelist. Subsequent to that, I started several software companies, and as you heard, I became a venture capitalist and an author. And I just happen to love social media. My love affair started with Twitter, and I then embraced Facebook. So I'm going to show you in this presentation both my evolution on Twitter, but also all the tricks and tips that I do on Twitter. I'm going to show you, I'm going to really take you inside the tent and open the kimono, to use two perhaps weird analogies. How many of you are on Twitter right now? I just need to know the impact of what I'm going to do, because some of what I do, and you're tweeting right now, I suppose, right? Okay, so because not everything that I do on Twitter and Facebook is, shall I say, what's the right word? In compliance with the terms of service. How's that? So every morning I wake up and say, thank you, God, I'm not suspended one more day. So let me show you what I do. And I hope you can take some of what I do and apply it to what you do as well as your clients. Okay, so this is not one of those strategic 50,000-foot views, the future of social media, all that kind of bullshit. This is like hands dirty. To use military terms, if you're in the U.S. Air Force, you fly at 50,000 feet in a B-1 smart bomber. This is Navy SEALs. This is like knife in your teeth. You're dropped behind enemy lines. You're killing people in hand-to-hand combat. That's what we're going to do today, okay? So, I started using Twitter in roughly 2007. And my first reaction to Twitter was, this is the stupidest thing I have ever heard of. I went to the Twitter homepage and I saw, Lonely Boy 15, my cat rolled over. And I could not care less who, that his cat rolled over, and I didn't even know who Lonely Boy 15 was. So my first reaction for several weeks was, like, what am I missing? This is so stupid. And to this day, I will tell you that, when I meet people who say they tried Twitter and they just thought it was so great the first time they used it, I honestly think those people are dumb, because it's an IQ test. If your first reaction to Twitter is that it's stupid, you pass the IQ test. And if you immediately think it's really cool and really smart, something's wrong with you. So I think where the light went on for me was when people showed me the power of search. And so let's pretend you're Nikon, and you want to see what people are saying about Nikon, and you also want to see what people are saying about Canon. So when somebody showed me a very simple thing like the OR condition, where I can search for Nikon or Canon or Kodak, wow, I mean that's when the light went off for me. It says, oh, I understand now. So basically, I can monitor what the world is saying about me, my product, my competition in real time, for free, without violating any privacy. It's kind of like being George W. Bush or Dick Cheney, except legal. And so that's when the light went on. I said, hallelujah, man, I could see the use for Twitter. So this is a very simple OR search, and you can see 17 more results came in just as I was saying this. And then I learned that there's this other kind of search you can do, which is from or to a Twitter account. And just because I'm saying that, our network appears to not be working this second. So this is a search where you can look for everything that Virgin America has said or has been said to Virgin America. And I'm going to try clicking on this one more time, and it is just not working. You're sucking all the cycles out of the 10 Macintosh 2CIs that run Twitter. So we're going to try that one more time. I refuse to admit defeat here. We will go straight to Twitter. I think I'll just abort. I won't do this. I'll give it one more try. Okay, so I can't get that one to work. The beauty of this is at the Twitter advanced search. When I saw this screen for the first time, it was an epiphany that, wow, you know, I can do all these kinds of conditions. So the from or to would have been from Virgin America. And you enter these sorts of conditions. You make very complex searches. And wow, I said, this is it. This is it for a marketing person. I mean, how cool can it be? So we did that. And then the next thing I figured out, or somebody told me, was, you know, you could search for a keyword. So let's pretend that you are a photography store in San Francisco, and your first attempt at Twitter is you type in the word photography, and you see that there are lots of people talking about photography. Having said that, you are a photography store in San Francisco. So if somebody in Norway is talking about photography, it's not so useful. You can't exactly sell them a camera. So then I learned about how you can do a search near a geographic area. And oh my God, what is going on there? So we are going to do this search if it kills me. So it's going to be photography. And it's going to be, this place is, I think it's 94103. Is that San Francisco? Yeah? And let's just say within 25 miles of San Francisco. So now, if you're a photography store, you can see all the people mentioning photography, the word photography, within 25 miles of San Francisco. And that is a very powerful search for sales prospecting. The next thing I learned about Twitter was that there's an integration with Google. So you know how people write their name and a little description of themselves? There's also the bio field. So this is a search that in the title, there's the word photographer on Twitter. So in other words, this is everybody who has said they are a photographer on Twitter. So how cool is that, right? So now you can find the people who have told the world, this is what I do. I'm a photographer. Talk about lead generation mechanism. So this is the integration. Notice that I am on Google now. I'm not on Twitter. So I'm using a search that integrates Google and Twitter to find all the people who said they were either a photographer or in their bio. You can also search the bio field looking for the word photographer. So again, the light went on. The next thing I did was I came to the conclusion that Twitter is not social media. It is not about so much updating your small circle of friends. And this is where I began to diverge with much of the Twitter fascists. The Twitter fascists believe that Twitter is a, you know, kumbaya, lovey-dovey, you know, let's all hold hands and sing songs together, social network where you're embracing and you're engaging just a handful of people, your close personal friends, you're hand-selecting your followers, they're hand-selecting to follow you, and it's just wonderful little thing, kind of like the internet was 25 years ago or 20 years ago. I don't think that Vint and Cerf ever anticipated a world where people would be buying shoes on the internet. And so I have come to view Twitter as a marketing platform. And as a marketing platform, it gets better and better with the more and more followers you have. So I will tell you right now, I'll go right on the record, I am always trying to get more followers. And that really just upsets a lot of people. And the reason why I want to get more followers is because as a marketing platform, the more followers I have, the more powerful it is. And I have come to believe that there are only two kinds of people on Twitter. There's the kind of people like me who want more followers, and there's the other kind of people who are lying. Because let's face it, everybody wants more followers. And if you ever meet somebody who says, nah, I don't care about more followers, I just want, more intense, personal, engaged relationships, it's because they don't have many followers. So it's a race. It's a race to get more followers. Now, obviously I don't really care about the 16-year-old boys in Shanghai who put up a 25-year-old blonde avatar, okay? That's not what I care about, but I want more followers. It is a marketing platform for me. That's why people advertise in the Super Bowl and not on C-SPAN during the congressional hearings, okay? You want eyeballs. So then I figured out, well, how do I generate good stuff? How do I generate more interesting tweets so that more people will follow me? And the secondary benefit is that the more interesting your tweets, the more people will retweet you. And so the more people who retweet you, the more followers you get, because now you're reaching followers of followers, not just your own followers. And the first thing that occurred to me was, Guy, you have a blog. So you could automatically tweet everything from your blog. And the way you do this is a site called Twitter Feed. So how many of you use Twitter Feed already? Oh, man. How many of you have blogs? Okay, so basically, everybody who has a blog should be using Twitter Feed. And the logic here is, if it's important enough for you to blog about, then it must be important enough to tell all your followers that you've blogged about it. And if it's important enough to tell all your followers that you blogged about it, you might as well automate the process. So what Twitter Feed does is it takes the feed, an RSS feed from a site, and let me just click on one here. Let me select a good one here. You take the feed from a site. Let me just pick any one, it doesn't matter. You take the feed from a site and you feed it into Twitter Feed, and you tell Twitter Feed, okay, go check the RSS feed every certain minutes, grab the headline or the headline in the body, stick it in my Twitter account, and shove it out. So this is an automatic way to go from RSS feed from a blog to tweets on Twitter. And Twitter Feed is an extremely useful thing if you want to constantly push out your blog posts. And another thing people use Twitter Feed for is, let's say there is a website or a blog that you know is always good. An example for this is Mashable. I think Mashable consistently has great stories. They have such great stories that, many of you, or I think many of you, probably wouldn't mind if Mashable is always tweeting through you, right? So what you can do is you can go to any website and grab the RSS feed, set up a program in Twitter Feed that says every 30 minutes, check the Mashable RSS feed, grab the 5 latest stories, and tweet them out automatically. So from your followers' point of view, they're looking at this constant stream of good stuff that you got from Mashable. And you've done it totally automated. And so what you want is all the people who are following saying, wow, Joe is very interesting. He's got all these interesting things from Mashable. So I'm going to, every once in a while, I see something really great that I love, I'll retweet Joe's tweet of Mashable. And so now you have created a situation where you have automated a process of shoving very interesting things into your Twitter account that people retweet, that gets you more followers, because the people that get it as a secondary retweet say, this guy Joe is very interesting, so I should just follow him directly and not depend on the person between the two of us to retweet to me. And so Twitter Feed is really, really useful for that. If you use Twitter Feed to its best, if you decide to position yourself as, let's say, a social media expert, you would have your own blog automatically going through Twitter Feed. You'd probably have Mashable, and you'd probably have Read, Write, Web. So those are 3 sources, your own and 2 external ones, constantly shoving stuff through your Twitter feed so that you could always appear interesting and get more followers and get more retweets. Okay, so that's one tool that I discovered was very useful. The second tool that I think you can use to find interesting things is a company called SmartBrief. And what SmartBrief is, it's in the business of creating content and helping associations find good content for their memberships. So it's in the business of finding good stuff for all these kinds of associations. Now, in the process of them finding good stuff for these associations, they also find good stuff for you. So, for example, here is the smart brief for, let's see here. We'll take one of the social media. Okay, so smart brief social media. I'll view the sample. What's happening at Smart Brief is that there are people, very intelligent people, who are going through all the social media articles of the day, finding the best ones, summarizing them in a couple sentences, and then creating this page. So if you were to go to this page every day, you would see, through human curation, the best stories about social media. And there are about 100 topics that Smart Brief does this for. So you could use the Smart Brief social media site, or if you're in advertising, or if you're in accounting, they do it. These are all the industries they cover. So look for an industry that you want to, let's say you want to position yourself as an expert in restaurant management. Then you'd go to Restaurant Smart Brief, you'd view their sample. These are all the great stories that Smart Brief found about restaurant management that day. You pick a story here. Street food craze fuels lucrative black market for New York permits. So if you wanted to position yourself as an expert in restaurant business or even street food, basically Smart Brief has found this great story for you, and it's found it in the Wall Street Journal. You might not have found that before. The other way you can get Smart Brief is as a daily email. So the same thing as this page comes to you as an email with a little summary, then you can click on that, come to this page, and find stuff. So I found Smart Brief to be an extremely useful way to find great content. And the key is that there are human curators doing it. It's not algorithmic. And I think that's very powerful. And it's free. So, this is another great way to get information. I also use StumbleUpon. So this is the StumbleUpon website. And you can basically tell StumbleUpon what kind of stuff you're interested in. And when you become a power user of StumbleUpon, you will use the StumbleUpon Firefox plugin. And what the Firefox plugin does is that it stumbles on the topics that millions of people have selected and organized by topic. How many of you stumble upon already? I don't want to have to explain it for nothing. Okay, so in this case, I'll show you that I have told StumbleUpon that I'm interested in entrepreneurship, graphic design, interior design, psychology, science, and travel. So when it's set to all like it is now, when I click on the Stumble, it'll go and find interesting stories that the StumbleUpon community has rated from these topics. If I want to be more specific, I can say, just find me interesting science stories. So now it's going to go and find an interesting science story. What is this? This is how workers are battling the nuclear crisis at personal risk. So I think this is an interesting story, okay? So now, again, I'm trying to find more followers. The way I find more followers is tweeting interesting stuff. And I have two tools that I use to tweet a story at this point, once I found it. First, I use Shareaholic. And what Shareaholic does is this little plugin, and it grabs the title, it shortens the thing, the link, not from the scientific URL. Now it's a shortened link, and I click on tweet, and now I have just tweeted that to 320,000 of my closest friends. So I used StumbleUpon, find an interesting article, tweet it out. Now I'll do this one more time to show you something else. I'm going to stumble and hope that I get lucky. This is not exactly one you would probably use. Although maybe we should pursue this. We'll stumble again. Okay, so this is cool. This is a cool thing. This is snowflakes up close, which, did you know that's what a snowflake? Wow. That is really cool. So when something goes into the really cool category, believe it or not, I use a website called Objective Marketer. And what Objective Marketer enables me to do is schedule and repeat tweets. So remember, I was on the snowflake story. I clicked on the Post to Objective Marketer button. This button invoked a JavaScript. This JavaScript then captured the title, okay, and it stuck in the link there. And now I'm going to tell it to post through the Guy Kawasaki account. I'm going to have it repeat 4 times every 8 hours starting from right now. So when I click on publish, this means that I will tweet this now, 8 hours from now, 8 hours from then, 8 hours from then, and 8 hours from then. This really upsets some people on the Twitter community because they think that, that I should not repeat my tweets. Let me tell you why I repeat my tweets. I repeat my tweets because I have found, because one of the things that Objective Marketer does is it changes the link for each tweet. So I can track how many people click on the same story, different link. Okay? And I have found that the first time I tweet it, 600 people click on it. The second time I tweet it, 600 people click on it. The third time, 600 people. And the fourth time, 600 people. So I get 2,400 clicks by tweeting it 4 times. If I were to listen to the Twitter fascists, I would have tweeted it once and I would have gotten 600 clicks. So guess what? Of all audiences, you ought to understand that 2,400 is a larger number than 600. So now, the problem occurs because every once in a while, someone complains and says, Guy, you're spamming me. You're sending me the same tweet multiple times. To which my response is, by definition, I cannot be spamming you because you, idiot, you are following me voluntarily. How is it spam if you're following me voluntarily? That's like saying you turn your TV on and it was QVC selling you a green tourmaline necklace. The next time you turned your TV on, it was QVC selling you a garnet ring. You call up the FTC and you say, shut down QVC. It's spamming me with advertising for tourmaline and garnet jewelry. The FTC would logically tell you, idiot, change the channel. Okay? So when people, I have invented a new acronym for this. It's called UFM. UFM, F is not what you might think it is. UFM is UFM. It stands for unfollow me. You don't like what I do, unfollow me. I would also make the case that if somebody has seen your tweet twice, it means they are on Twitter too long. Because by definition, they've been on 8 hours. And I don't know many people who scroll back through all their tweets. I mean, that is just ridiculous. It would be the equivalent of saying that I saw you repeat the tweet. It is the equivalent of saying, you know, I TiVo'd CNN, and so I came home at 5, and I went back to CNN at 8 a.m., and I watched it from 8 a.m., and damn it, CNN, you repeated the story over and over again. The purpose of CNN is not to TiVo it, okay? That's real-time news. So I view myself as a fire hose, and as a fire hose, I am constantly pushing out links. And I don't assume that people love my tweets so much that they look at it at 8 a.m. and then they watch it all day. Or if they come home at night, they go back to 8 a.m. to see what I tweeted 10 hours ago. I assume that they're dipping into my tweets, and so I need to repeat them. Okay? So, but this is a big psychological problem for many people. The point here is that I use Objective Marketer. I can set the pace for how many times I repeat, and the time interval between when I repeat my tweets, and when the repeating of the tweets start. So this is truly a schedulable way to tweet out your stuff. Now, you don't have to use it to repeat. You can just schedule it. But that's really the power of why I use Objective Marketer. It is for the ability to repeat tweets and to schedule it. So I showed you 2 tools. Shareaholic, if you just want to blast it out right now, and also Objective Marketer if you want to repeat it. And I think this is a story worth repeating. That's a very, very cool story.